too. I think it's recording too. So if you end up like wanting a clip of this afterwards, just let me know because I could probably send you the entire record. I mean, it'll already be on your channel, but we can clip it up afterwards too if there's certain things that
Okay,
you want.
man.
All right, chat. How we doing? We're live. We're back. I don't have a cool intro. Like certain people might have cool intros. I don't. But we're here and we're here, man. We have a special guest. He's never been on our channel before. I don't think when we did our show together, it was a long time ago. Where was that? Was on your channel, right?
Yeah, it was on my channel. It was only one of yours. This is the first time.
Man, all right, so here we go. This is new. We got my man Christian from Den in the D, and I'm just gonna open it up like this, man. Tell the people where they can find you, what you do, all right, and what they're missing out on if they haven't found you yet.
Man, let's see. You can find me on YouTube, Den in the D. Find me on Instagram, Den in the D. Even on Facebook, Den in the D. Man, what you missing with me? Man, you missed a good conversation, man. I'm really one of them people that, be really locked into the game. One of them people that, I enjoy the Lions, love watching it. I've been watching it my entire life, so it makes sense to watch it now even more and get people on the bandwagon since we win. And I can talk smack now. And the Lions are actually backing up my smack talking versus me talking smack and they not doing it.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. This is the perfect time to make content on the Lions. You're right about that. Hey, yo, when when I started, man, it was like the wrong time to start. It was like trying to argue for like what was happening is gonna be good. Matt Patricia's doing the right thing. Nah, it wasn't. We don't have to go back down that route. Look, I don't want to talk about that. We're in a good spot right now. You're making a lot of. You're right about that. This is a great time. And what's funny about this is when the schedule dropped, which we're going to talk about a little bit in this show. When the schedule dropped, when we were like getting just kind of the fan reaction from what everybody was kind of saying, it was weird that everybody was saying such good records. Like I could go out here and say 17-0 and people wouldn't call me crazy. I mean, it would be a little crazy, but
Yeah.
Lions fans would be like, okay, I see what you're doing there. If I did that 2 years ago, man, looking at me sideways. If I get over 11 wins at that point. So it is kind of a weird spot that we're in, but it is fantastic as well. So you know what? Let's do this. Chat, we're leaving this open, man. So throw your questions in there, things that you guys want to talk about. We're going to talk minicamp. We're going to talk about the schedule. But let's start right there first, because the one thing that you said that you wanted to discuss, which we talked about a little bit when the schedule initially dropped, but I'm curious on this because I know you're going to throw it to me with your question on this. So I want to hear your thoughts on this because the bye week, when the bye week is scheduled, it's early for the Lions this season. I mean, do you have concerns about that? Is that why you wanted to bring it up? Are you concerned about it?
Yeah, because me and my friend Biz, man, shout out to Biz, man. He been my number one person, like really supportive. Man, him and I talked about it, and it was like, man, them early breaks. Then you got them long times, them injuries gonna pop up and all stuff like that. So it's like you don't really want that to pile up. And then we got a good secondary. I mean, it's not second team. I'm sorry, but it's more like I still want that to go, but I don't want them injuries to pile up. So then the point when we start to get into the playoffs, and then it's just like, well, this person is like the third string because we lost our first and second and all that stuff. So you give them a little break in between.
Right. No, I hear you on that. It's like so this was my like initial reaction to this because I just feel like it's almost like impossible to kind of predict. What you're saying makes sense, especially now it's even different with the extra game. Heck, going forward, they might throw another game in there. But it's like I think mathematically you'd probably want it in the middle just because of where you're at. But it does feel like you don't really know when the bye week's going to matter until you know. Like until you have that injury pop up where you're like, oh dang, I wish we had that bye week right now. Like it could be super valuable to have it when we have it early in the season. And I actually found this article speaking on what you're saying, and this was posted in 2014. So this is before the 17th game, just to put that into context. But according to their research findings, and it looks like they had like a 11 or 12 year sample size here, on average, the Super Bowl winners bye week would come in week 7. So then that would mean that you've only played 6 games. So that would be early in the season. So maybe if there's like it wouldn't be maybe extremely early in the season. And again, there's one less game then, but it would be before the middle part. So I think that's kind of interesting, just a way to look at it. Like on average, the Super Bowl winner, there's this week 7. Maybe that's optimism for when the Lions falls.
Yeah. Then I was also on the thing of, man, not if anybody got some wood around, let's knock on it together. But just in case, God, I don't even want to speak to the existence. But in case anybody starts losing, get on like a losing streak, you got that little bye week. That way you can get everything together, get y'all mental right. So that way you can break it. Like when the Lions had that time when we were losing, it's just like everybody was, doing that. Bro, fire this person, do all this. So you got to do all this to start over. Then it was like, Then they came back, and then Goff made like 5 touchdowns. And it was like, okay, yeah. Then everybody calmed down. Like, yeah, the Lions to the Super Bowl. It's like, it was so much like everybody's emotions were all over the place. But, get that little bye week in between. That way, something like that doesn't happen.
Now I hear, yeah, because what was that? Are you talking about last year with like kind of like that one stretch where he had like a whole bunch of interceptions? Like it was really the
was
Chicago
bad.
Bears kept taking the
It was
ball away,
bad.
man. And then Green Bay, yeah, it feels like you're gonna have that at some point. But to your point, like the first 4 games, I think this is kind of tricky, man. I mean, we can start with week 1 first, though. I mean, we start with the LA Rams. That's the game. Everybody's circling that one. I mean, I think it's perfect the fact that it's at home. The Lions this season, just in general, though, real quick, they don't really have many outdoor games, which should work out well for Jared Goff. Just kind of looking at that, like he's way better indoors statistically. So the fact that we don't have many outdoor games, just general, should help us a ton. But yeah, you're looking at these first 4. I mean, if we just broke this up into segments, when you're seeing home LA, you're seeing then Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Arizona, Seattle. What would be kind of your initial feel on like what the Lions' 4-game record would be right there?
Truthfully, I was a little nervous about Arizona, just for the simple fact it's like I'm not really sure how Kyler Murray is going to be, because granted Matthew Stafford's here and they ended up tying a couple years ago, but it's like, is Kyler Murray, now that he has Marvin Harrison Jr. on that offense, is like, are they going to, like, is this defense going, offense, I'm sorry, offense going to play a little better, or is it more like, okay, yeah, they're not really going to show too much? And then also Seattle, because I do think the Lions might like pull it out, but just by a little bit, just for the simple fact that they lost last year and everybody did all that ski mask, talking smack at home. So now it's just like, yeah, that's like make them eat their words this year type play. But as far as the Rams and the Bucks, I think you're gonna win. And one thing I even said before when they played the Rams, I was just saying the thing of, would you boo Matthew Stafford? Because when he comes, I'm like, I kind of understand it because he's on the opposite side now. But everybody was like doing a little too much and sharing a lot of stuff about his family and things like that. I was like, yeah, I'm going a little too far. But as far as do y'all want him to come here and win? It's like, no, I want you to win, but you ain't got to talk about his. You got to talk about his family now.
Yeah, hey, it's like this at all levels. Like once things start like getting kind of competitive, especially if you got someone that that's involved, things be getting kind of crazy with fans. But my whole thing on that, for what you're saying there, is like, if you're saying just booing in general because the other team, I don't got an issue with that. Like I wouldn't treat it different. Like if you're gonna boo Tampa Bay the same way you're about to boo Stafford Rams, that sounds good to me. Boo them both. I'm cool with that. But like to like take it to another level just because of Stafford, like I wouldn't be one of those people. Like I don't have that kind of hate towards him. Like I had a lot of love for Stafford, so I don't have like extra hate, or I don't have extra hate. If anything, I'm like, hey, thank you Rams for what you've done in terms of what you've given us. Because my goodness, not only did you give us Jared Goff, but you also gave us Brad Holmes, and I'm very grateful that like somehow this man found the path to get you. I mean, the Lions took him, right? And I don't know, there's a lot of other teams interested, but whatever y'all did, man. Like to find this person, allow him to continue to work his way up. Thank you for giving us that piece as well. Because not only did you give us the draft picks that shot us forward, but you also gave us Brad Holmes that's changed everything, it feels like.
Man, started from working at Enterprise to now being a GM. I'm like, that's beautiful.
It's an amazing story. Hey, okay, so first question here. Let's start here. Are we better built to handle the Bears? This is something we always talk about here. So if you're like, what is he talking about? We always talk about this specifically because of their defense. That's why I always bring it up specifically. I think they have one of the best defenses. All right, let me ask you this real quick, just before I answer the question. I appreciate you, Ed. I want to ask you this. How do you think the rest of the NFC North shakes out? Like, what's your early sense of how everyone else kind of shakes out? Take the Lions out of it.
Ooh. Okay, so Green Bay definitely got better. The Vikings got better just because, even though I wanted him to go to any other team, but instead he went to the Vikings. Watching, I'm trying to blank on his name now that you asked me. Somebody asked me, but the quarterback that got drafted to the Vikings,
McCarthy,
Michigan,
JJ.
Yeah, JJ McCarthy. I'm sorry, that drew a blank on his name, but I hated the fact that he went there, because I'm like, man, I gotta boo you now. I gotta wish you. I gotta wish you have a horrible. I gotta wish you have a horrible career now, man. Let you leave. But definitely, the Vikings got better. The Bears got better. My only thing with the Bears is like I do feel like the Bears got better, but the one thing that I always had, and I'm gonna throw the Lions in for a quick second, just because the Lions previously always had a better thing with running quarterbacks. Yeah, Caleb Williams hasn't played an NFL snap just yet, but I think he's going to be more of a pocket passer, other than how Justin Fields was. That's why I was like, you
Right.
might have a thing against him, better chance against him, but that defense is, I don't know about that defense though. It's kind of hard. They thriving more, and you gave them more years to get better. So that
Yeah.
chemistry is a real thing. So you see it in all sports, not even just NFL.
So if I had to say, and again, take the Lions out of it, like if you had to order them and how you think they finish record wise right now, first, second, third, Bears, Packers, Vikings, what would you go with?
I'm gonna say Packers, Vikings, Bears, just for the
Mm.
fact that the Caleb Williams, I think they're gonna like mix a lot of things up with for him, and that he's not gonna like shine this year just as a rookie. I think he's gonna be like the Bryce Young. He's gonna do like how Bryce Young did last year.
Dang.
No, I'm not wishing, no, I'm not saying like he's gonna be like trash like for rest of. I just think like it's
Just for
gonna be
that
a
year.
harder transition.
Right. I'm here
'Cause
for it. Look, hey, you gotta back up on it. If you think you're gonna be trash next year, I don't have a problem with this. Ain't a Bears channel. You know what I'm saying? I've been on a Bears channel before. We can call Caleb Williams trash next season. I'm cool with that. I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case truly. Like, I hope it's a disaster for them next season. Um, but like, I get what you're saying. You're saying like long term, it's just gonna be a lot to transition in immediately. And hopefully, based on what you're saying, is also because like, yo, hey, Lions defense is gonna be better. Like, this isn't the
yeah,
same Lions defense that Justin Fields saw. This is a better, especially in the back end for what he's about to handle. So let me also say this because I saw this question brought up just real quick here, and this was Jordy. Is golf actually better that bad outdoors, or is it the fact that most of those games have been against Green Bay, Chicago? I mean, look, you're making some sense right here. We could definitely dive into it. I think we can make this a segment for sure, something to dive into. I would say that I don't know that he's necessarily, I don't think he's bad outdoors. I just think that he's better indoors. Like the stats that were last season, and I think this was heading into the playoffs that they had
mm,
last season in a dome, 104 passer rating, 69% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns, 8 picks versus his outdoors, which was an 88 passer rating, 64 completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks. But to your point, a lot of that's Chicago. I mean, this year, most of it, I mean, it's going to Green Bay outdoors. It's going to Chicago because now Vikings are in a dome. Like, I think we only have three games that are not in domes this year in the regular season, which is nuts. That should be awesome for us if that's statistically where golf is at. But I mean, it's a good point because I'm with you. All right, so I'm kind of going all over the place right here. I think the Bears defense is really darn good too, especially after what they did this offseason. And their head coach, he gets some hate, but he can do his thing defensively. That said, though, I had Chicago second in the division this year. I have them above Packers and Minnesota. So that's why I want to hear your thoughts.
oh, that defense must be great. I gotta see it, man, because I have. I'm not gonna lie, like I haven't played. I just don't feel like they're gonna. I feel like the defense is gonna do a lot. It's just the offense that's not gonna thrash. That's the part that I feel like is gonna mess it up. Like, yeah, you did everything you were supposed to. You finally got some
Mhm.
wide receivers. Gave him. I'm not gonna shade DeAndre Swift, but he's not as good as he used to be. And then gave him offensive line. I just gotta see it. Maybe give me like a couple
Sure.
weeks, then I can see it. But I'm just more Green Bay because you gave him a running game now. He
Right.
had it before, but he made it even better. So I was like, you kind of had to get it. And
I can
then Green Bay kind of made us look bad last year. Granted, we fixed it, but it was just still more like, come on, man, that was slightly embarrassing.
yeah,
That's
that
why I
that
give
Thanksgiving game.
it
I hear what you're saying. I get it. And then the way I think, man, I'm way lower on the Packers than most. I feel like the Packers offensively are going to come way back down to earth this year based on the way they finished. Not against everybody. I just think against us specifically. I think we're going to match up way better with Green Bay. And I think there's certain teams that thherey're going to really struggle with. Like we did this as an exercise, and just to kind of again, I'm just kind of playing my thoughts here. So this is just totally me here. But like if you go through how the Packers ended last season, I understand like some of this maybe isn't fair, but after us, right? So they beat the Chiefs by 8, which is a good win. They did that at home. Then they lost to the Giants, got beat by the Buccaneers by 2 touchdowns, beat the Panthers by a field goal. Then they beat the Vikings, beat the Bears by 8, and then it was that blowout against Dallas in the playoffs that I thought did a lot for them in terms of how people are viewing that team. Because then they came
yeah.
back and lost to the Niners. But we'll see. I could be way off on that one.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Just because somebody just said it up here, like just a quarterback position. Like at first I was just like, this guy's like learning under Aaron Rodgers, so I kind of give him a slight edge. And then, like you said, like when it comes to that, you still that it goes off that experience, man. Because you can have some people that come in and click immediately, but it's just like I said. How I told you before we started, I was like Caleb Williams, man. I know it's rumors, but it's slightly making me nervous. Like, is this really going on, or is this just smoke screens? Because this guy's just like the next like best thing. It's like next Tom Brady or something. Are they really like nervous because he's not going to transition like that? That's what kind of got me putting him at 3. I mean
Yeah.
4. I'm sorry.
I mean, we did, and I think that was OTA specifically, like where it was the days where he was coming out, and we were hearing like, yo, he throwing like 7 straight interceptions or something. Like I remember seeing that on NX, people posting that, like, yo, that's insane. He just kept throwing interceptions, and we're about to talk about Goff because Goff has thrown some interceptions from what we've heard, which you have the same perspective I do. Maybe it's just because I'm super optimistic. Maybe you are too. But it's also like I'm when I hear that our guys are picking off Goff, to me, like we always hear the thing like defense head of the offense. So give Caleb Williams that, I guess. But also that I know that Goff, like he'll throw some picks, but it's not like his 10. He doesn't tend to throw a ton of interceptions. So the fact that our guys are taking the ball away, I give a lot of credit there because I know that Goff's not going to throw the ball in the traffic that often. I understand practices for learning though. And same thing for Hendon Hooker, right? Like Hendon Hooker, even back in college, it's a lot for him. It's a way different offense. But
Yeah,
like Hendon Hooker in college, he didn't throw the ball to the other team very often. That's not something that he naturally did. So to take the football away, I think speaks a lot to what the defense is actually showing. And it's a lot of like, yo, we invested in this cornerback room heavy, and now we're seeing it. And it's also the depth pieces that are still picking it up seemingly this this season. So where do you kind of fall on that? Like, do you find do you get concerned when you hear like Goff threw this many interceptions or something? I don't take too much of it, but you're asking that question about Caleb Williams. Caleb's, I think, was 2 different levels. It's one thing to throw a couple picks. It's like, hey, he threw a couple picks here. Campbell took. It's another thing to be like, yo, he threw 8 in a row. Then we'd be like, all right, there's something going on here. So there's levels to this.
yeah, because it was like he threw 8 in a row, then he got benched because he was doing so bad. That's why I was like, this got to be smoke screens. This can't be real. I'm like, this can't be something. Like, bench him for who? Because I'm like, you didn't do all this trade Justin Fields for a third just to go ahead and bench this guy because he's having a bad training. But truthfully, when it comes to Goff picking up, like, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm actually excited about it. It sounds so weird to say because it's not like it's like affecting us. It's more just showing that, like, hey, this defense is getting better, that we're actually getting picks because yeah, he's not on the team anymore, but getting picks. That was our issue last year. The secondary was horrible. Like Sutton's no longer there, but it was more than Sutton, so it was bigger than him. So it was like, come on, man. So the fact that it's coming out like that, it doesn't look bad for Goff. It looks good for the defense. That's the reason I'm just like, hey, continue to do it. Hey, this Lions defense continue to pick off Jared Goff. Now, if you talking about all the Bears defense, Packers, and everybody else, and it's like, but the Lions actually doing it, I'm looking forward to it because I'm like, yeah, like this defense needs to get better, man. Because with a top 10 defense with that good offense, you're going to actually do something this year.
Yeah, because as Lions fans, like we have a good sense of what the Lions offense is. Plus, I don't think we fall into like that category as every other team does. Like we know the offense line, defense line is not as much involved now because of pads. I mean, we can hear stuff from them, they can flash, but we also know that like a lot of these pieces are returning pieces. So it's not a lot of change within this Lions offense like Caleb Williams is dealing with in that whole offense. So to quickly answer Charles' question here, who I have left right now, I got the Vikings. You put the Vikings. You didn't put the Vikings in last though. You put the Bears in last. So was that like, yo, you think the Vikings are a little bit more? Because to your point here, if you believe in the Vikings a little bit more than I do, I think that's fair because Minnesota's competitive with whoever the heck's at quarterback. So, like, whoever they had, even against us, it was like they're still putting up points. As bad as the defense was, they still put up points. And it seems like, if anything, I thought that they had a pretty strong free agency. They truly just try to go add talent to that defense, add a little bit more pressure pieces. So, where are you at with Minnesota?
Yeah, I put them. I can't put them last just because, like I said, J.D. McCarthy re-signing Justin Jefferson. That offense is looking good, but it's what you said. Like that team was like they were. Like just striving to win, the fact that they were putting up so much, I was just like, man, they're all looking good. But it's what you said, like you got a new quarterback, but it's not like you still have people around you. Like Chicago is just got matched together. That's the reason I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I ain't really feeling. Like I said, that chemistry is a thing for me because I've seen teams. Anybody that watch NBA, this ain't got nothing to
Yeah.
do with NBA, but anybody that watch NBA be like, okay, go pick up this player, this player, this player, put them together. Okay, they are star names, so they should be fine. And it's like, yeah, they need at least 2 or 3 years to be good.
Right.
And that's how I feel when it is with the NFL, because you're like, oh yeah, let's go pick up all these players. You got Keenan Allen over here. You gave him offensive line. You got Caleb Williams. You got all this stuff. And it's like, okay, now what? Now you got to see if it actually matches together because Keenan Allen might get injured or something. You know, Caleb Williams might come out. DeAndre Smith. Hell, anybody that ever watched the Lions play, you know DeAndre Swift gonna get hurt. So,
Yeah.
so it's like, you know, how you gonna see that happening? You know, I know it's always next man up, but that's the real thing that got me with Chicago is just like they got put together a little too fast for me. That's the reason I don't see them making it as high. But the Vikings, I definitely see him having it. And then JJ McCarthy, man, like I like watching him at Michigan. That's why I was like, yeah, he was like a natural born leader. I'm never gonna
Mm-hmm.
put him up to Tom Brady. At least not right now. Like maybe in a few years or something, we have to do another one.
Yeah.
But as far as right now, I can't say JJ McCarthy is Tom Brady, but I do say he's a good player. So, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm probably putting him on the pedestal so he can take a hard fall, but I trust in him right now.
No, I love that. Now I love what you said. Natural born leader. Even like when he was recruited to come to Michigan, I can remember like while he was in high school, like the hype was still there though. It was like just wait a minute, just wait till Harbaugh gets his guy, and then just like let's
Yeah,
see what happens.
yeah.
And he lived up to everything, man. It was like his one loss was TCU, and it was rough. He threw some interceptions in that one, and then he comes back the next year and he completely like pulls that back. Like you just don't see that. He's a completely different guy in the playoffs. So it's almost like as a whole view. I don't know if JJ is going to be there immediately to like what you're saying because it feels like there's a lot of things that have to improve. But like long term, I hate that they got JJ McCarthy as a Lions fan, just like what you said. I hate that I'm gonna have to root against the guy. Just if like he just went literally anywhere that was in the North, I would have been happy with it because then I could have rooted for him. Now I can't do that, and I do think long term, I think long term he's going to end up being very good for them, and that's what I don't like. Have you heard anything about Isaiah Williams, the receiver? So I want to get your thoughts just on UDFAs in general in a second. I heard that Isaiah Williams did catch a touchdown for one of the days through minicamp, which is nice to hear. Haven't heard really much outside of that. I'm pumped to see what he does in training camp. I know a lot of the questions is about depth there. We just did a video on the receiver position. It's a lot about the depth, so I'll ask you about that. But is there an undrafted free agent that comes to mind? Anybody that the Lions maybe brought in that wasn't a draft pick that is someone that you're keeping your eye on for the Lions heading into the season? I put you on the spot there. So I just didn't know. If there's no one for you, that's cool.
You know what? Oh no, he's unrestricted. I'm trying to figure out how to say his name, but I'm not sure if he's playing running back or safety. It's
are you talking about Vaki? You talking
yeah.
Okay.
Because he was one I was just like, so what position is he gonna play? Like, is he like you came to the team, so I'm like, what? But I'm like, where is he gonna go? Is he gonna be like third string behind Gibbs and Monty? Happy birthday to Monty too, by the way. But
okay.
Is it more like, is he going to be behind that, or is he going to play the safety position? Because that's one thing that I've been trying to figure out, and I haven't really heard much about it. But I was wondering what's going on with him. That's the other player.
Yeah, so he was I think he was pick 132 because we just did a thing on him, so it's so fresh in my mind. But no, I love that you brought that. I could talk about this dude. I got clips on deck if we want to just throw him up and just plays of him in college. I think he's playing running back from what we've heard. And then we also had the one note that I saw from Minicamp is he's been kind of someone that they spotlighted like, oh man, we like his hands. And back in high school, he was a receiver. I think that he's got a lot more natural aspects of a receiver than even Jahmyr Gibbs does. Like Gibbs, I thought was gonna be big there just because like the skill set. But Vaki looks like a receiver. He only had 11 receptions in college, but he looks like a receiver playing running back. He just looks like a route runner versus Gibbs, who's like, okay, he's like really quick. He's explosive. We know he can catch the ball, those kind of things. Vaki looks natural there. So I love that you brought up that name because for me, I think that there's a guy that's like, okay, put your money on this guy down the road. It's like this dude kind of shocked everybody. He came out of nowhere and he was like an elite player. I would bet on Vaki for that. just because I think that he's got that special quality as a pass catcher, but also he's still a very dynamic run guy with the ball in his hands, to the point where I can remember when Brad Holmes took him, right? He said this guy didn't even major as a running back, but he was still great there. Like, he had over 350 yards and like 42 carries, and he didn't major in that category. It's like, what can we get out of him there? So I'm with you. I love that you brought up that name. I think he's going to be huge.
Hey, so I had a question for you then. So if you were had to pick between Vaki or Craig Reynolds, which one would you pick?
Mm-hmm. So you mean like make the roster, or you like in what way?
Like make the roster.
See, I hate to do that. I think Baki is locked to make the roster. I'll say this. Baki's locked to make the roster to me because not only can he play, I think he's going to be a starting kick returner. And, with the new rules now. And plus, I still think that even though we may never really see it, the fact that he can play safety is something that's still valuable. It's almost like Malcolm Rodriguez. Like, the fact that he was solid at fullback, there's a value there for that. I think that's kind of with Baki. Like, he's coming in, like, if we had to, though, we could put him at safety. I think it'll be great on special teams. So I would lean with Sione Baki, because we also know a benefit of Craig Reynolds was he was our kick returner at one point. I think this guy becomes our kick returner immediately. I think that's what's going to happen here. And I think, like, long term, in terms of like who's that guy that's could break out. Like I said, I think Vaki could have massive big time production down the road for the Lions in a lot of different roles. I mean, this guy, to me, you could put him at receiver and he'd look fine there.
Got you. Okay.
That's my thoughts on that. But I love Craig though. Craig's a dog though.
One of these things they said, does Dion ever let fans get on the show with the eyes? Where you think I'm at? No. I've been watching this guy for years, man. I just reached out, like, I'm about to shoot my shot, see what happens. Like one of the reasons I told him when I first did, I was like, man, y'all didn't tap in with me. I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna touch on that. I was a little hurt though, but not. He was the one that got me started. I was like, man, let me try this out and see what's going on. Because originally I was doing this in North Carolina, and North Carolina was big, but when it came to the Lions, people were not really sociable. It was a lot of Dallas fans out there. So I was just like, yeah, I paid attention to this a lot. I was just like, yeah, let me get on, see if he ends up reaching back out. And then now here we are right now.
No, see, and so this is the second time we've done a show into what we check out his channel, man. He's actually linked right now. I don't know if there's like a way, if you're like watching on my channel, like just click his name or something. But after this show, find it. I'll actually, when I get the chat off the screen, it'll say his channel's name. Go check him out, man. But yeah, this is the second time it's been a long time. It's been a long gap in between. But I was pumped that you reached out because you were like, yo, let's talk about the schedule a little bit. And that's on me. Like, I did this way later than we were supposed to do this. But I was like, this is a perfect time because I kind of want to talk about minicamp. So like, let's just kind of merge both together. So now I'm glad that you're here, man. Last time was a blast. So definitely running it back is great. But we've done in the past, I will say in the past, we used to have like panels where you get just viewers on with links. That's something I'm open to bringing back for sure. So stay tuned for that because we may throw that link back in there at some point where we have kind of call in some version of that. To answer Ed's question real quick here, how important is the 1 seed to us? Chicago worries me. I appreciate you again with the 199. And let's get the birthday cakes in the chat, not only for the 199, but also for Dave Montgomery having a birthday. Let's get the birthday cakes in the chat. How important is the 1 seed? So I'm assuming you're talking about just winning the division because like, yeah, I mean, if we win the division, we'll always be home no matter what when we see them in the playoffs. Assuming you're just saying win the division. I don't think that it's important necessarily that the Lions had home field through. I think it's super beneficial because any team that we have to play outdoors against, we're just not the same offensively based on what we know. But I don't think the Lions need it because I think the other team, who's at the top of the NFC? Like if we were just looking at the NFC, the top teams we believe in the NFC are LA Rams, don't got to worry about the weather. San Francisco, don't got to worry about weather, right? So even if those games were on the road, I wouldn't worry about that. And I don't think, and as long as you're ahead of Chicago in the division, you won't have to worry about that going into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't think there's many teams now that we're seeing in the NFL just in general that it's really a concern. I would have to look. It's a good question, though. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at that. It's a good question, though. Okay, so I want to pull this back. So win-loss prediction. I don't want to we're not going to hold you to this, of course. And before we get to that, because I think that's a good way to end this. I think, you know what? Let's end the show with that. Let me ask you this, though. You're looking at this Lions schedule. We have the LA Rams game. Outside of that game, which game is like the game that you're circling as a fan? I mean, it's every one of them, but like is there one that you're like, man, I'm pumped up to see how this goes for this reason?
Yeah, Houston.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was like, CJ Stroud coming in, everybody's like, oh, he's, Ohio State quarterback, so he's not really going to go anywhere. And then to make it to the playoffs and going crazy. Then it's like, then you end up picking up Stephon Diggs, better defense. Then end up getting Joe Mixon on top of everything else. I was just like, ooh. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
surprised Houston is sold out.
it's nuts.
But
That's nuts.
I'm like, that game was like, yeah, D'Amico Ryan's like, he's definitely coming in, like he just put a stamp in, like, hey, I don't do that rebuild, like we winning now.
Mm.
And he came in
Hmm.
real like strong and hard pack, and I was like, that this game is going to be one of those. This game is like, yeah, you didn't get to face them last year, but this year is going to be. I feel like it's going to be tight.
Yo, I would give a clap for D'Amico Ryans because yeah, I'm not a Texans fan, but to what you just said is absolutely facts. When they made that, so I can remember, and I don't know why it's just so random. I remember, I remember mowing the grass after they made after the draft, and it was a few days after, and people were talking about the fact that they took C.J. Stroud and they traded back up to number 3 to take the edge rusher, and it was like, why did they do that? They gave their future. They're not going to be good this year. That's a crazy thing to do. And
Mm-hmm.
they had that outlook like, yo, it actually ain't gonna take that long. Watch this. And it did it. And now it worked out perfectly for him. He's like, they have a big time pass rusher now, and they also got their quarterback at the same time. So clap to them because man, you're right. They skipped every other step along the way. They were like, we're not that far away. Nico Collins is now getting paid. Shout out to Nico Collins. I think that if there was a team in the AFC that I would bet on, that's like they're gonna overtake the Chiefs, I'd bet on Houston to do that. So to what you said, I think this is like a measuring stick for the Lions in a way because I think this could be a Super Bowl preview for the Lions outside of the conference. We're going to get a sense of how good they are within the NFC very quickly, but in the AFC, that'll be an opportunity because like last year against the Ravens, it was like, oh, this is terrible. Hey, yo, this is not good. We wouldn't have had to see them, but like, yo, that was like that. The one game that I missed last year, I'm so glad I missed it because I remember
Oh my
kept looking at the
god,
score and it was like, yo, it's like 35-0. What's happening here? So
man,
that
it
was
was
bad.
that was a hard kick back to reality because everybody was like going crazy. I was watching Sports Center. Stephen A. Smith put us on the list, and I'm like, yes. I'm like yelling at the TV. We went at the Ravens, and next thing you know, even my brother was like, just cut it off. He was like, cut this off. He was like, this is bad. I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, listen, we done dealt with this for years. We can deal with this hard game, and it's just brought us back to reality that we're not ready just yet. But
Mhm.
everybody play that back up there, like, yeah, we're winning every time. We're 17-0. We're not. But then that game brought us back to reality, like, hey, like,
Man,
oh, come on now. There's a difference between like championship teams and teams in the running. And they just brought us back, like, hey, let me show y'all who y'all are. It was rough, but hey,
yeah.
I personally like it because it got it was getting stuffy on this bandwagon, so it got a lot of people off.
It's true. That's true. It was a perfect wake up call because it also happened early in the season, relatively early, and it was also I think at that time we only had we were like 5-1, and it was the fact that I think it's good if you're gonna get blown out by somebody, don't let it be an NFC team. Like if we're gonna take that, we'll take it from a great AFC team because then it's like it doesn't really affect it outside of the win loss. Like we know it's not gonna have no tiebreaker really implications there. So
Mhm.
I'll take it to that team. And then to what you just said, it's like yo they did bounce back because by the time I mean Ravens didn't make it any further than us. And I would say that what we did against San Fran, I mean, we wouldn't have seen the Ravens in the playoffs if we would have got there, if we would have got to the Super Bowl. And it's like the way that we did respond to that, like that the Lions never lost back-to-back games last year. And I think that was super telling. That's huge to
Yeah.
not lose back-to-back games. That's insane. It's kind of weird to say that out loud, actually, that was a thing. Real quick, though, to my man that brought up Philly, because he asked a question about playing outdoors. You're right. That's a good team to bring up. Philly did a lot of good things this offseason. I think their offense coordinator, defense coordinator. I'm not mad at you bringing up that name specifically. I'm not really worried about Philly though. Like Philly don't concern me as a matchup against the Lions personally. I feel like Philly kind of want to be like us, but they're not as good at it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the sense that I get. Like they bring me think of like a tough team, but I think we're better. We're better now. We saw this 2 years
Yeah.
ago, week 1. It was at home, but like we played Philly and we were right there with them. I don't know. I'm not worried about Philly personally,
Yeah,
but I
because
hear what you're saying. I think they win the division.
that's one thing I was saying before. I was like, our issue, well, initially before this defense that came around, our issue was running quarterback. That's why Jalen Hurts was doing so much. Because even I still remember the guy commentary like, Jalen Hurts can't keep this up all season. It's not going to go far. And then he went to Super Bowl. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta like the last was our Achilles heel. It's always been our Achilles heel is running quarterback. That's why Justin Fields did so much. But
Right.
once Jalen Hurts came, but now that we got this defense and able to figure it out, I don't feel like Jalen Hurts is going to be as big of a factor as he used to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's it because I can remember, when Fields, when they moved off Fields, like Dan Campbell, like he was like, I'm glad that we don't have to play that guy anymore. So it's like, in a way, I think that they upgraded that quarterback. But to your point, Dan Campbell, like he spoke on, like that's the guy that would keep him up at night, man, because you got to deal with so much with this dude. As ugly as their offense would be at times, it's still just a handful to deal with, man, because like it doesn't have to be pretty. And then all of a sudden you got to deal with he's taking off again. I mean, the game that we won at home, I was watching it last night, like he did a ton with his legs in that game, and we found a way to win. But it was like you watch that and you're like, how do we win this football game? Like we probably shouldn't have won this football game, but we did. We just found a way, and that's great. But this was not a pretty win at all, and we just found a way to get it. So maybe we do match up better going forward, them not having to deal with Justin Fields anymore. All right, so I want to ask you this, because you talked about the corner. You talked about really just our defense right there, maybe being better against running quarterbacks. I want to move to the cornerback position, because it wasn't just addressing it. We went like all in there. I mean, I don't know about you. Let me ask you also ask you this on side of that, because you already said that, Vaki is kind of the guy that you're keeping your eyes on there. Did you expect the Lions to take another cornerback after they drafted Terrion in round 2? Did you even see that as a possibility that they would do that?
No, not even a little bit. Because just for the simple fact that I'm like, you already got a Meek Robinson, you already got Carlton Davis, you already got all these people. So going to get another one, I can understand, because you want to like that competition, that competitive side, to see who could do it. But I didn't see it afterwards. To be honest, I hate to do this, but Terrion made me nervous. And I say not because of athleticism, it's because like the CJ Gardner-Johnson came in, and like while I was at the draft, and Terrion had a segment, and he was talking about how he's a rapper, he wants to do all this stuff with rapping, and he like made like a little freestyle real quick, and I'm just like, this dude's gonna come to Detroit and he's gonna just fall in with rapping and just go crazy. And I'm like, I'm not looking forward to this. And then sure enough, they were like, Terrion Arnold. I was just like, dude, please. I'm like, welcome to Detroit, but just don't rap more. Just don't rap more than you play, man. Cause I'm like, I just like CJ Gardner-Johnson just rubbed me the wrong way. I was just like, please don't be CJ 2.0. Like, just don't.
Man. Bro, so that whole situation with CD Deuce was so weird, because as like, I loved him. I loved the signing. I loved him when he was on the field. And it was like when he left, it like left the sour, because then he's on social media. From my perspective, I don't know if this is like how you said, but like my perspective, when he left, it's like a lot of things started popping up, like the things that he was like, just kind of like, it was like he immediately like moved on from Detroit, like it was like there was some gratefulness for them like taking him in that season. And it felt weird like after he left. But when he was here, I loved CD Deuce as a player, like to the point where I was like, yo, bring him back. Like before I saw that, I'm like, yo, bring him back. I'm not mad at bringing this guy back again. I thought he was huge for this defense. So yeah, I don't know. That was like a weird way that ended. Like what was your perspective on the way that ended with CD Deuce? Did you feel weird?
Yeah, it threw me off. It threw me off because he definitely was like, "Hey, they paid me to win. They didn't pay me for all this other stuff." And then waving and talking smack, and even bringing the ski mask. He was the one that started it. I don't care nobody say. So I was just like, bring that. Like I love that. I love that. That chemistry and that stuff that you're bringing to the team. It feels good. But then, then he did say the stuff about the Philly fans, and everybody was like, yeah, that's kind of how Philly fans are. Like, you got to be winning. If you ain't winning, then ain't no point in you being here. So, but then when he left and went back to Philly, but then he said something here, I was just kind of like, no, me personally, I can't speak on everybody else, but me personally, I was listening to a lot of your raps, man. Like they was
wait. I didn't even know this. So CD Deuce a rapper?
Yeah, you ain't know.
Oh man, I didn't know. He's not cooking. What you're saying?
SOS Greedy. SOS Greedy or something like that, man. He made like four rap songs while he was here. Like the first game that he won, like he was like, "Oh, let me read." Y'all can look it up. You ain't gonna take my word for it. He was like, "Here, let me reach out to Sada Baby. Let me reach out to Babyface Ray. Let me see if Vezzo gonna do something." I'm like, wait a minute. So you came up to Detroit and started linking up with rappers. That's why I was just like, hold on, man. So I'm like, I'm like, so are you gonna like what? Like, come on, dude. I was like, I really didn't want to listen to it, but I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna be supportive. I'm gonna try it out. But some of them
Dang.
are just like, yeah, this is a straight miss. But some of them are like, you know what? I'm gonna give you
Okay.
a thing because it's like I'm gonna try it out because you are lying. But once he left, I was just like, bro, you put me through so much through these raps and these
Man.
edges. And I was just like, wow.
So he had a couple diss tracks to Detroit. Is that what you're saying? Or am I?
No, he just had raps, period. But they just
They
weren't.
just weren't it. They just weren't it. So if Carry On drops some heat, we're all good. As long as
Yeah,
he's dropping heat, we're
if he
cool.
drops a song and it goes crazy, then hey, I'm cool with it. He could be like Dame. He could be like Dame Dollar. Like Dame goes crazy on the court and in the
Wow.
booth. Okay, we're good. I'm gonna shut up and listen to do both. But if you pretty good and get injured on the field, and then you rapping and you trash, bro, it's like, come on, man. You gotta
Man.
you gotta give up
Dang.
one and focus solely
Yeah.
on the other, man.
Nah, that's actually. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm glad that. I'm glad we got to this somehow. I'm because now I want to check it out. I didn't know he was even dropping. Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out now. Terrion, we're keeping the eye on it. So that's what you're saying. He basically set the tone where now Terrion can't drop without you being aware of that. So
Yeah.
don't just you can't just drop anything. It's got to be heat. Otherwise,
Yeah,
we're
you
gonna be
gotta go.
like,
You
yo,
gotta go crazy. You can Terry. Hey,
okay,
Terry, I don't know, man. I'm gonna see you tomorrow. But hey, you when the first trap you drop, I guarantee you, I'll repost it. I'll listen to it. Everything. I'm gonna give you my full criticism. But it gotta go crazy,
man.
man. It can't go. Hey, go Kendrick Lamar. They not like us type flow. Go
Oh
crazy with
snap.
it. That way, I
Okay,
know he's like, okay, yeah, he can let him do both.
maybe like
If it's sitting on something else, we're gonna have to see.
so maybe like directed to the Packers though. Like maybe that's the
Yeah, most definitely. Hey, soon as you or be that person that as soon as you beat a team, drop a diss track of how much you beat them by. Doing it every
oh boy.
week. I'm
Now
tuning
this
in.
is, I'm with you. Hey, we could do live shows every week. Me and you reacted to the verse that he dropped against the team we just beat. I'm down with that. I'm
Hey,
absolutely down with that.
hey, that's
Okay.
what I'm saying, man. Good. But we gotta. Hey, he gonna do it. Watch. I'm gonna talk to him about it tomorrow, man. If I can get a quick little moment with, I'm gonna talk to him about it tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Taryn, we're here for the extra content. All right. Hey, quick, Jordan here. Apparently, Mosley, we ready for camp. Hey, so quick note here. If anybody's not, it sounds like, according to Dan Campbell, like most players, they're going to be good and ready. Like he's expecting most people to be ready to go for training camp. Outside of DJ Reader, who were just because someone asked, is he going to play week one? I'm not really concerned about that. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be ready for week one. But to what you said, they haven't given us an exact date, and we know that stuff can kind of linger. Then, according to Dan Campbell, it sounds like it's not any. They haven't been like unexpected, like, oh man, this is taking longer for him to get back. They knew he was going to have to miss some time when he got here. It's just they're going to have to pick the day that they want him to come back. They're not really expecting it to be like day one for training camp. He's going to be ready. Good thing is that's one of those guys that he doesn't need to really put much out there for you to be like, well, when he's healthy, he doesn't need like a ramp up. It's DJ Reader. He's a dog. Outside of just coming back from his injury, you know what you're going to get when he's on the field. But yeah, most people are going to be healthy here. So Emmanuel Mosley, a guy like this, right? What is your take on Mosley? Because I think this is a good player to bring up where we talk about this cornerback room and guys like Khalil Dorsey, to me, I mean, he's had the 2 picks in minicamp that we've heard about, 2 pick sixes, both on Hendon Hooker. And then we go back to the preseason. I thought he was awesome last year. And then in the regular season, he got a little bit of snaps. But this cornerback room has went from really questionable to all of a sudden it feels like it's so loaded to the point where you're trying to figure out who's actually going to be able to make the team. I mean, when you start running down the numbers, it's insane how deep this room is. And Mosley is a guy that what stands out to me is the fact that they re-signed him after really not seeing anything. Like the Lions will give out 1-year deals like we've seen, and then if they prove it, they may give you an extension. If not, they'll kind of go elsewhere. And for Mosley, it was none of his fault, right? I mean, it was an injury, but it was still the Lions willing to say that, yeah, he played like 1 snap, that Carolina game, and we're still going to bring him back based on what he's done in the past. And also maybe some of the, he was in the building, those kind of things. They like the personality. Maybe that had something to do with it too, the character. But I will say, like a guy like Mosley, like what's your expectation? How do you think this cornerback room is going to shake out? What battles are you looking at there?
Man, truthfully, I was like I know Carlton Davis. I feel like Carlton Davis is definitely going to go first. And then Meek Robinson is going to like, if they don't care about size, because I'm like that guy like he's physical. I watch so much of stuff, and he's like talking. He's like 5'8", 5'9", talking to dude 6'3", like, "Are you too small, bro?" I was like, "Hey, I love it. I love this guy." I love that he's talking like that.
I'm just showing some Amik clips. While you
Yeah.
was hyping up Amik, I was like, yo, hey, look, I
Telling
had some clips ready. I got some clips
you,
ready. and
that's what
and
I'm
I
telling
had to do this. Just to pull it back to what you said earlier, you talk about the Bears and like some of their additions, Keenan Allen. Man, I'm like, oh, you remember Keenan Allen last year? He went crazy on us.
you. Yeah.
I'll tell you who played pretty well against him. I mean, it wasn't perfect every rep. Meek Robertson did pretty well, and this was in the slot, which is where he's playing right now with Rakestraw kind of recovering from the abdomen injury. I think he had the surgery and stuff. But
Yeah.
while you're talking about that, you keep going. Like any other, like Emmanuel Moses, we'll focus on him because you was brought up. Like, what do you
Yeah,
feel about Emmanuel Mosley? Where's your belief confidence level there?
yeah, Emmanuel Mosley he's definitely like kind of like the dark horse for me, just for the simple fact that I pray that he doesn't get injured again. But it's really what you said, what you were just saying earlier. It's kind of hard to go off how you had with the Lions because you only did one play. So you got to go off when you were with San Francisco. And it's like, yeah, you did really good. But it's like, but with those injuries and with you playing one of the hardest positions in the NFL, is that going to linger and slow down? Slow down? Is it going to slow you down? Or is that going to do anything? But somebody even said, I was
Right.
like, if he's actually, goes back to the San Francisco days, that's gonna mess up a
Yeah.
lot. That's gonna drop a lot of people because it's like now you battling to see who's gonna start. And that's the one thing I love about it. It's just like, okay, now this cornerback room is actually having a competition to see who's gonna be first or second. It's like, wait a minute, this has never happened.
Yeah.
But
Dude, so okay, so what you said right there. So is there a world? I'm just gonna ask you, crazy thing happens. Let's say Mosley goes out and he's in training camp and he's playing at his highest level like he was with San Fran. I mean, to the point where he ended up getting that extension at one point. If he's playing at that level and he's healthy, is there a world in which he is starting over Terrion Arnold outside week 1 with Carlton Davis?
I can see it. It was such to see. It was such to see, but I can see it just for the simple fact that it's like you got so much going on now, man. Because between like Branch Arnold Davis, like you got so much talent over there, man. So it's like, man, if he goes back to that, then it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to put him up because now it's proven.
Yeah.
Then with Arnold, you don't want to have them have those rookie mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it might be like key plays when he has some rookie mistakes, man. Because everybody was going crazy with Brian Branch, but then Brian Branch had a lot of rookies mistakes when everybody was gassing him up week 1, and then week 3 it was just like, ooh, what happened?
Yeah.
So when you have them, you ain't got to worry about it.
No, I mean that's like I don't remember who. I think it was one of our assistant coaches, someone that, but they specifically said that like Emmanuel Mosley, when healthy with San Fran, the guy's a starting level cornerback, but like he was playing above like just getting by. It wasn't like he was just getting by as a corner. He was on the up and up with San Fran. It was always just injuries kept knocking him down. I mean, he played against DJ Moore in that last season. We really saw him, like you said, with San Fran, like the first 4 weeks he played really well against DJ Moore when he was with Carolina. Like the dude was going the right direction. He was playing extremely well. So I'm not saying that neither of us, I think, are saying that that we actually believe that Mosley's going to be starting week 1. But to also say that he's at that level where it's like, yo, we've seen him play at a super high level. It's not crazy to say that, to what you're saying, Arnold has some struggles early. I think there's areas that he needs to improve. And Emmanuel Mosley's, he's that dude week 1. Like if he's looking like that dude, you wouldn't have any issue with him coming into starting because you know what to expect.
Yeah, or I'm not sure if Dan Campbell believes in load management, but that would also be something to make sure you don't re-injure yourself. It's like, hey, every few plays, like, hey, we're gonna take you out, put you in. But that way it's like you making sure you stay fresh. Because that's one thing that you can even worry about now. You don't have to worry about now either. And that's why I keep saying that's so beautiful to say. Like, come on, man. Like, hey, look, you looking too good, but come out just for a quick second, make sure you good. Come get some water real quick, and go back out there and keep killing it. Like, never said that about the defense.
Yeah,
about the defense ever.
It's so weird. It's so weird. But you're right because, and I guess it was a little bit different because when Mosley was coming back in that game, I think he started rotating with Jacobs. Right, he was rotating with Jacobs in that one, and then the year before, I don't remember exactly. I don't remember who it was exactly. I think it was Jacobs would start, and Jeff Okudah was rotating at one point. And I don't remember who the other cornerback he was rotating. Well, we've seen that. We've seen him rotate guys in and out where it's like if it's not clear cut, I would be a little bit weird because usually you'd think that with like the guy that's like, well, they're kind of inconsistent, so they're rotating. But I mean, look, if they're both balling, I mean, it'd be a weird rotation, but it's like, hey, we can't figure out who to put on the field. You guys are both doing your thing. You're both going to see reps.
Yes,
I mean,
good
hey, look, I don't have an
competition,
issue
man.
with that.
Right, good
Competition.
competition to have. That's why I say I love to see it, man. Like that's definitely something that's just like that's an actual competition. Like, hey, y'all looking too good. I can't put one or the other. Something, y'all, hey, y'all gonna have to show me more. So that's just gonna keep improving them throughout the game, throughout on field. I'm looking forward to it.
So, okay, I didn't see this, Ken. If he was ranked number 9, I did not see that. Is that based on are you just saying coming in this year? I didn't see that. That's awesome. Well deserved. If he was a dog last season, my man brought up. I saw it in the chat. Like Brian Branch could play safety. We know, hey, he can absolutely do that. I mean, in the little bit of route of reps that we saw him at safety last year, he looked awesome there too. Wherever he's out on the field, he's going to be great. Was it Amani at that time? It may have been Amani. I thought it was someone else. I thought it was like a year later, but you might be right, Trey. It could have been Amani. But yeah, I know we've seen that before. It was just in a different. It's different when you're talking about a first round pick. Look, I'm not saying. Hey, I believe Terran's going to start. Do you believe Terran's going to start week 1?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're both on the same page. We're not saying that we don't believe that's going to be the case. We just got to talk about it because it's good competition. I mean, you have to leave that possibility out there. Like if Mosley went out training camp and he shut everybody down, he picked off 2 passes a day. You couldn't be like, nah, he can't start because he's not the round 1 pick. Like you got to let the dude play then because like he's that dude. If you got to be real to what your message is, which is the best players are going to be on the field, regardless of where you came from. But we both, and Arnold's going to earn it. I believe Arnold's going to earn that. I wanted to just show some random Brandon Joseph highlights here in the background because Brandon Joseph, who we've heard some good things, it looks like he's getting first team reps because we've kind of been in and out with Kirby, who's been dealing with the injury. And I just pulled some preseason clips from Brandon Joseph as our backup safety, where last year against Carolina, I thought he was playing. He had a really good preseason. I mean, statistically, it's hard to look at the numbers with safeties, but 1 reception for -1 yards on 3 targets. He had the interception, 9 tackles. He was good in the preseason. And I wanted to kind of transition into that. Is there a position group to you that what position group, if any, do you have the most concerns about or questions about coming into the year?
Ooh, okay. Let me think about that one for a second.
Yeah. And by the way, remember what it is, number 40 here. I try to zoom in on some of these plays. Brandon Joseph was cooking. That's what I'm saying. I mean, for me, I ask you that question because for me, one of the positions was backup safety, where it's like, okay, we need depth here. We signed CJ Moore. But one of the guys that I was circling was Brandon Joseph because he was a UDFA from a year ago. We had re-signed him this year, and he doesn't really have any guarantees. So, he's not a lock to make the team. But based on what we saw in the preseason, I thought he looked good. And that's one of those positions where, everybody kind of keeps bringing up veteran safety names. And I think it's still a real possibility. But if Joseph balls out, I feel good about the depth there. I feel good about Joseph at that point. And then I definitely feel good about CJ Moore. I feel good about safety, knowing that we also have Branch that can play safety if I need him to. So if a guy like Brandon Joseph does what we've heard some of the good things that he's been doing so far in minicamp, and even if you look back like a year ago, you could just see the awareness that he plays with, kind of the fluidness and coverage that he brings table as well. We know he brings some good size at 6'2", 200. Like the guy was playing the right way. That would kind of minimize any kind of question marks that I'd have there if he does that. So do you have a position that stands out for you there?
To be honest, now I think about it now, like one thing that was throwing me off was honestly like wide receiver at first. And then, like I was saying cornerback, but they addressed that both of those immediately. Then one thing I've been paying attention to because I've just been paying attention to him a lot more was now that Ryan Reynolds is gone. I'm like, who's gonna be number 2? And everybody was like, man, J-Mo's playing like he's number 1. And I was just like, oh, okay. Well, in that case, since he's playing like the number 1 guy, even though you just signed Brown, and he's like, playing so efficient, playing so consistent, and he's just not the hey, run as far as you can. I'm just gonna throw the ball to you. Like, hey, we good.
Right.
I got nothing to say. That was the only position I was worried about first.
No, so that I thought that's probably where you're going with it, because for me, that's where I was with it. So what we've heard from J-Mo's been all good. I mean, if there's one guy from minicamp we've heard a lot of good, Dan Campbell spoke a lot of good of him. It's been he's a man on a mission, and there you go. So just to highlight this play, and I did this on the show earlier today, but I want to do it again just because I think this play means a lot. We know St. Brown's that dude, right? St. Brown's the one. He got paid rightfully so. We have that. We feel good about that. But Jameson. So here, okay, I want to get your take on this because I did a video on this yesterday, and I haven't just asked someone what did they think about this idea that I have, this conspiracy that I have. So this is I'm gonna explain this how I see it, and I want to get your thoughts on. Tell me if this sounds crazy or not. So if you go back and you look at the Lions last every draft, right? You go back to the first draft they have 2021. I can throw up the draft picks if you want, but if we go back, we look at basically every player they've drafted outside of maybe Chase Lucas. Everybody's really stuck around year after year after year with an opportunity to at some point get snaps. At somewhere, maybe they've changed positions, but they've got an opportunity to get snaps. And the Lions, those guys that they've invested in, they have left you at some point. They've given them an opportunity to step into a larger role. And I believe at receiver, with the Lions not bringing back Josh Reynolds, I believe that they've created that opportunity with Jameson Williams, where he clearly has an opportunity to step into the number 2 receiver role. But with the Lions doing that with basically every draft pick, it's making it to the point where when their contract expires, it's not going to make the decision so difficult of like, who do we resign? Because we can't resign everybody at some point. We have a lot of good players. They're going to have to make tough decisions. But these guys are going to have their film out there with the Lions. Like, we're going to have seen it. We're going to know what they look like. Like, we're not going to have a situation where when Jameson's contract ends, we're like, I don't really know if this guy earned a new deal. We're going to know because he's going to have those opportunities, because the Lions didn't sign someone to just place him right in front and be like, hey, man, sorry, dude, this other guy was here. We're not really sure about JMO. We're just going to have to make kind of a guess whether or not we want to pay him. And I think that we're seeing that. Okay. And I, my other example would be Derek Barnes. Like, we could have signed a guy this year to kind of play that position that Barnes has played this last year. Levi, like, we could have definitely at a lot of points put just a guy right in front of him and said, Levi, there's not really a spot for you. We're going to move off. But they keep letting these guys stick around, battle for opportunity. And I think that's massive. So that's kind of my overall take here. But I think with Jameson, that opportunity has been created here where Jameson, to what you said, has that opportunity to become really that number 2 receiver this year and become that guy. And the sky's the limit on how much he could do as long as he continues to show that he can play red zone. He can play in the goal line. He can open up his route tree beyond, like what you're saying, just running deep all the time. Like, he can actually do a lot more. If he can do that, he's going to have that opportunity in front of him. So the question to you is, does that sound crazy in terms of that's the Lions process? But really more so, Jameson Williams, what are your thoughts? What are your expectations? What do you think he'll do this season for the Lions? You can even throw yards to it if you want.
Well, JMO, I definitely think now that he's number 2, should be number 2. I'm more in the thing of, it's just that one. It's just I don't care what nobody say. I know what I saw. That one-dimensional run as far as you can. I'm just gonna throw it over, and you just catch it and just run faster than a person. Now it's no longer the case. I feel like even though they lost the game against San Francisco, it showcased that he's capable of doing way more than what you had him doing. So that's why I was just like, I definitely think JMO is going to look much better this year because they're going to he's opening up the floor to more stuff that he has going on now. But as far as yards, somebody said this, and I was kind of like dreading it to say it out loud. And like, I'm praying, I'm gonna make sure I pray twice tonight. Somebody was like, I think JMO could have 1,000 yards, but they was like, but the only way they can see JMO having 1,000 yards if St. Brown gets injured. And I was just like, why would you say that? But I definitely think that JMO is definitely between. It's so much talent on the offensive side though, because it's like you got Sam Laporta right here, St. Brown. You got too much. You got too many weapons. That's why I was like, to focus, give him a certain amount of yards. It's like I can't give him that, but I definitely think that he's going to do way better this year than he did last year.
So I think. So I kind of thought you'd bring up receiver because that's the position we've talked about. I think that the Lions, a big reason they're also could be very confident. I still think they could add somebody they have the money to do it. But I think a reason that they have a lot of confidence receiver room is also what you just said. It's not just about they don't view it as just like the receiver room. They view it as like, well, Gibbs can line up as a receiver. And now Vaki, to what we brought, he can line. And Sam Laporta is basically a receiver. And I say that because one of the comps that I used yesterday was, if you go back to the Rams in 2018, right, when Goff, they went 13-3, they go to the Super Bowl, and he puts this great stat line together. And the next season they fall back. I think they missed the playoff. They were 9-7, and everything kind of just fell apart. And they start trading away guys. Their salary cap's all messed up.
Yeah,
you could argue they had too many weapons. Like in 2019, Brandon Cooks, who in 2018 was their second leader receiver, and I think, you know, they both had 1,000 yards, him and it was Robert Woods. So I think there's a world in which St. Brown does that, and so does Jameson. I think that's possible. But when he got to 2019, they had Cooper Kupp now, who emerged as the guy. So now he had over 1,000 yards. You also still had Robert Woods. You also then at that point now had, you know, kind of the new oncoming receiver. It was Brandon Cooks that time. So now you have 3 great receivers, but then you also had Tyler Higbee's now becoming a big part. You still have Todd Gurley, who's eating up a ton of receptions. You had so many guys where it was like, well, all these dudes can't eat. There's only one ball to go around. And plus, the Lions, they run the football a lot. They run the ball a lot, like Goff was second yards, but still not everybody's going to be able to eat next season. So I think there's value in the idea of like, we don't need just the receivers. Like, we understand that, hey, there were games I was watching yesterday, Chicago. Like at Chicago, we played 3 tight ends a lot in that game. And it's like, this is kind of weird, but the Lions are willing to do those things. The clip that I wanted to showcase, and this was the Jameson highlight. And here's why this means a lot to me. So I should have put I still didn't grab the clip. I don't know why I didn't do this. Carlton Davis, who's now a Lion, which real quick, like, what are your thoughts on Carlton Davis? Like, how good do you feel about that addition? Were you kind of out on the excitement meter 1 to 10?
10.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna lie to you, like, because I was sitting there like when he came in, because I was like, when he came in, and between him and Amik Robertson, when they both came in, I was just like, okay, you're addressing it. Like, I wanted Sutton gone, but not like that. But I did want him gone. But I was just like, you need to come in and just do something immediately and change that, because we can't continue to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting beat every time, and not even you get beat, because I said cornerback is a hard position, but you got people setting up career highs against us. It's like, come on now, that looks bad. But when Carlton Davis came in, and then like I said, he hasn't played with us, but just the confidence and everything that he has, he was just like, yeah, none of that's happening again. Like, it's over with. I don't care what I said. I was just like, I like this guy.
Yeah. No, he and I think to your point, like, he was like talking. You spoke about himself like he's a number 1 corner. He's like, yeah, that's me. I'm that number 1 corner. And just go watch me do it. And go watch him play against us. He balled out against us. I mean, he was lined up against everybody too. He was like, they were like, put him on St. Brown. They were fine with doing that. But this one play I want to show. So this is on Carlton Davis, and this is why I think it means a ton. So I don't know when I spoke about. I don't know when I spoke about this last. Oh, it's in our James Williams video, but there was a play last year when we played against the Bucks, and it was at home, so it would have been the playoff game. I think it was the playoff game. And we took a shot to Jameson Williams down the sideline, and Carlton Davis was in coverage. And Jameson never found the football. And I thought that was a whole issue last season, right? It was like he was very inconsistent at just finding the ball. And I was like, he needs to improve there. And he didn't find the ball. He was battling with Carlton. He kept looking at Carlton, never found the ball, and it just kind of flew by him. And then I see this play, and he's one-on-one with Carlton, which, by the way, you want to talk about just making guys like Jameson better? Now you have to deal with Carlton Davis over and over. So you're dealing with a proven cornerback. That's awesome. And now a first-round pick sometimes as well. But to see a play like this where he's battling with Carlton, but he shows that focus, like he's finding the football through the rep. And beautiful throw, but he's like so locked in. That play to me, like as a fan, where it's like, I don't get to see every practice. I can hear what Dan Campbell says. I can hear the reports if he's balling out. But for me to just see that one clip tells me everything I need to know personally, because like that's year I thought he needed to improve personally. And now I see a play like this against a guy where last year he couldn't find the ball. This year he's making over shoulder grab like it's nothing. And he's throwing the ball out there. He's celebrating. When Dan Campbell says he's a man on a mission, that to me proves it all. It's like, okay, I believe him. Yeah. He is a man on a mission. I believe you there. Is there anything? Go ahead. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. Go ahead. I was going to ask you this. So is there, because now we're kind of wrapping the mini camp up, we're getting into training camp. Is there anything or any player that stood out to you from any of the notes that you heard that maybe we haven't talked about that you wanted to give some love to, or a player that when we get into training camp, you're saying, this is someone that I'm keeping my eye on here, or maybe that's a positional group that's like, this is a guy that I want to see what he does. I keep putting you on the spot, so just.
Oh, you good. You good. Truthfully, I already touched on it. Like, Amik Robinson for real, and I was really Broderick Martin. No, and people say Levi. No, but I was really more Amik Robinson just because the size was killing me for real. Because I'm like, let me see what's going on with that, because you got a lot of tall, raw receivers, especially the first 4 weeks. You go to Mike Evans. You know what I'm saying? You're going to out-jump Mike Evans when you go against Seattle. Amik Robinson against DK. Like, that's a big dude. And he's tall. So it's like, how's that matchup going to work? So that's what had me a little bit. But like I said, I've been trying to read him on it, but everybody's just like, hey, like, I'm just going off his words. And he's just like, yeah, they can't handle me. I'm too physical. I was just like, all right. I'm a trusting you right now because me personally, like I'm not an NFL player. I never trained for that type of stuff. But I know if I'm tackling DK, yeah, I'm hitting the ground. I ain't gonna lie to you. but
Yeah.
this man, he's showing like, hey, I'm getting DK together. And it's like, okay, bet. Let's see what happens.
So okay, so I like the Amik Robertson one. I like that a lot because I feel like he is the kind of he's like built to pop in training camp. Like he just has that mentality where it's like there's no way we're gonna be walking away from camp not talking about this dude because he hit somebody or he just did something. He got fired up at practice and he got into it with somebody else. Like those things are gonna come out in a good way. Those are gonna come out just because of the way that he plays. Um, just a quick touch on a guy that we haven't touched on because they're just seeing different names in here, like seeing him and Hooker. It's gonna be awesome as fans. We haven't really got to see him. Like we're just, what is this guy gonna look like? And I think what we've heard is it's been a lot of growing. It seems like he's maybe sometimes he's not playing fast enough, holding the ball too long, those kind of things. I think those are all expected, especially from the offense that he's just coming from. Like those are all kind of expected things. Like he's just gonna have to speed up his process. But we also know the talent's there, and we still get those flashes of like hearing, oh, he laid a dime 40 yards. But I like the Levi name. And the reason I think Chad is saying it because we've heard that he's put on 15 pounds. He's continued to battle back where it's like this guy, I think everybody kind of remembers like the introductory presser where he's cussing on the presser and he's fired up when we just drafted him. We're like, man, this guy's going to be an animal. And then we just haven't seen it yet because he hasn't been on the field, unfortunately. But I think he's actually shown that in the way that he's continued to just kind of battle his way back. And last season, not a ton, but a little bit, he flashed. He flashed a little bit. And now it kind of gives me vibes, and hopefully this is the case of like when we heard Aleem McNeil's drop away, he's cutting. It gives me vibes that Levi, in a different way, is taking a similar approach. Now it's like he's focused on his body. He's got to get his body right to play on his defense. Because when he came out and he was drafted, he was undersized, notably. He's known as being undersized, especially to play on the interior. He had the length, but undersized build. And now to hear like, okay, he's putting on that weight. Now he's popping. Now he's got an actual offseason to stick with this team, and we can actually see what he does. We haven't really got a ton of I think it's hard to take what he's done so far and buy into it a ton just because they don't have like the pads on. But I'm bought into what Levi can be because the opportunity's there, just like I kind of just touched on. But it's also, I think the idea, and I'm going to show just some clips here just why I'm talking about this, but I think the idea of Levi putting on weight not only makes a ton of sense for run defense because of plays like this where he gets blown off the ball, and you can see they've always had questions about his pad level, but also as a pass rusher. Like where Levi wins, explosiveness, kind of walk you back, the hand usage, him putting on a little bit more weight and kind of to me just leaning into like, this is what I am. I'm going to drive you back and collapse the pocket. I think it could play a lot into what he already does well as a pass rusher. And plus even like the idea of moving him out wider, things like that. Because the guys that they're playing at that big DN role, which apparently he's playing, those are the guys that are going to collapse pocket. That's the Pascals. That's Kaminsky's. That's Mekhi Wingles. They're built to do that. Levi could be built to do that same thing. And he's already shown some of that skill set to do that, even when it doesn't look pretty. So I'm fired up to see what that is because I think that he's shown us kind of that dog mentality just in the fact that he's battled to just stick around and continue to try to find himself an opportunity. And he hasn't just given up, even though it's been completely opposite of how he expected it to go to this point.
Yeah, I get everything. That's why, you know what? That's I think about it. Yeah, I kind of looking for that.
I got you into. I talked you into
Yeah,
it
you
a
got
little
me
bit.
thinking about it
All
now.
right.
Because I'm like, I do like Levi. I have heard him talk a lot, but I was just more like, kind of not sound harsh, but it's like, yeah, you've been talking, but I want to see it now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I want to see where you go with this and everything. Because it's like, yeah, you've been talking. Now I want to see if it actually transitions on the field. Because I could tell you, we could talk all day, but it's more like what his actions go behind it. That's what you want to know.
Right. No, I completely agree. So real quick here before we kind of get to the last point, my man Traces ranked the DNs: Davenport, Houston. We haven't talked about Davenport because we haven't really seen him much either. Houston, Pascal, Betts, Kaminsky. So I would say this real quick. All of these guys, most of these guys are playing different. Like Houston's not playing the same role as Pascal, those kind of things. But if you were going to rank these five right here. I'm going to put you on a spot again. Rank these five for me.
Woo!
That's tricky, man.
Yeah, man. Ooh, okay. I say I can't. Davenport, just in this very moment, I had to put him at the bottom because I haven't seen much just yet. Right? Maybe I have to see more because I know when he was with the Saints, it was like, so you show like flashes, but it wasn't really too much. Yeah. Houston has to stay consistent. So once he stays consistent and he's like not injured so much and he plays, starts to actually play more, then I can put him there. So I got to put him like Davenport, then Houston.
Okay.
So
we're going from the bottom up. You're putting Davenport at the
yeah,
bottom, then
yeah.
Houston. Okay.
Let's
And then
see.
you got Betts up there though. You feel good about Betts?
Mm.
the CFL signing?
Yep. That's why I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know, because I like you still
He
got to
did
see.
cook.
That's really another person you really haven't heard about, because it's like,
Yeah.
like what has he been? Has he been doing good? Has he not? It's
Yep.
like you don't really hear so much from him.
The quick note, the only thing I heard is that he had come in at one point, he was getting like starter reps. Some of that's because players are missing, and now he's getting more so kind of reserve reps, just to kind of point that out. I don't think anything that's a surprise, but that's the only thing I've really heard.
Yeah, see, so that's why I put Kaminsky at the top. I got to put
That's
Kaminsky
fair.
at the top. Like
Okay.
Kaminsky's already shown, like, hey, I'm good at what I do, and so you kind of hard, and he's dedicated with it. So it's kind of hard to like take him out the number one spot. But like I said, this is in this very moment, because like I said, everybody else I need to see, because I need to see more. And maybe if I can actually see it versus go off another person's article and I see for myself, then I can change the ranking. But right now, that's where I have to go. So it's Kaminsky, Pascal, Betts, Houston, Davenport.
Okay. No, I respect that, because I feel the same way. Like, just reading this stuff, I can't put. I only thing I put stuff in is what I can see. So I put like the most I like. If I can go back and watch him, I could base on that. But I can't really base it on the article, especially now again, because they're not wearing pads. So in fairness, like, I don't want to take too much from that. I would say this though, if I was trying to project right now into next year, I would put Josh Pascal at 1. I think Pascal's in line for that like big year 3 breakout. I feel like Barrett Barnes in a way from last year where he kind of like came on. I think Pascal's in line because he showed good last year. I think Pascal's going to break out this year, become that dude for us. I would then I think put Houston 2, because I think Houston has a role. He just needs to make the team. He can get after it. I think he can get after it. I think there's still a lot there. I'd put Davenport 3. And then it'd be a battle between Betts and Kaminsky. I think Betts makes the team. I think they're just different players. But I guess I'd go Kaminsky then Betts, just because I know a little bit more. But yeah, I'd probably go Pascal, Houston, Davenport, Kaminsky, Betts. So much completely different list there. But yeah, it's a tough one because we just don't know. So it's gonna be all over the place.
It's like that one's really a toss up, because it's like that's what you said, like you going off of when somebody else says like, oh yeah, I saw this, I saw this, I saw that. So it's like I get what you saw, but just also sometimes you probably seen them without pads and taking stuff a little lightly. So it's like, so was that really what's going on? But when it's actually in the game moment, because he might even said the same thing about this is a completely different position, but about Rodrigo. Everybody was like, they didn't see it. They didn't see how he would, be that type of person. And then it took for Hard Knocks. And then from having to actually play. And then he was started going crazy. And it was like, yeah, he might be small, but he's big enough to take care of these players and like knock these players out like that. Everybody was like, Anzalone knows, until Rodrigo, which everybody said they didn't even know his real name until later. Because he came in and was like, hey, I might be small, but I know how to play this position.
6th round pick, man. And then you're right. It's almost like I don't want to say like he had to work harder because he was later on pick, but I think in a way it's like he had to show a lot more, because you're just like not expecting anything there. And then it's like, but at some point it came through, and at some point you're like, yo, it's kind of like the Mosley thing. Like Arnold, he's that dude, but at the same time, it's like Mosley would have to go crazy for you to get to that point. I think to this question, I would just depend on what front we're playing there. All those dudes are going to be on the field, though. Just know that all those dudes are going to be on the field in some way, all at the same time, and that's going to be awesome. All right, so I guess kind of put a wrap on this. The question I was going to save to the end here, just to do it, this is the best way I think to end it. When we're talking about the schedule side, unless there's anything else you want to hit on, we can do that. But what's the win-loss prediction now for the Lions, so we can revisit this closer to the season?
Woo!
And chat, throw yours in there too. Win-loss prediction.
Still wasn't ready for it. I'm not gonna lie.
Here, I'll pull up the schedule while you're doing that.
Because I'm like, yeah, I gotta look at this again. Because I'm man. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm just trying to think about this for real.
It's a good picture here. Let me get a good picture of this one. I gotta get one that shows them all at once. We'll just use ESPN for it. That'll work. Yeah. I know where mine's at, so
man, I can go first. I need a second, man. I'm trying to think about this for a second. It's really hard. I'm thinking
No,
it's
it
like,
is. It. Hey, you can change it. You don't have to be stuck to this prediction because a lot of time between now and the season, we know every week it's going to change too. Right now, where I was at with it, I went 13-4. I think the Lions. I think it's a 13-4 team, and that's with resting at the final week of the season. I just think it's a heck of a schedule, but I think LA's a win. I think Tampa's a win. I'm with you. I think Arizona could be tricky, especially on the road. I think they're a lot better, but I just think we're a better team. I think that's the win. I think Seattle's win. I think the Lions. I think I have them starting 8-0 before they start to lose some. I think Houston's a tricky one. I think Indianapolis could get them. I think they'll probably split with a team like Chicago because I have them winning, being second in the division. And then I don't know where my fourth. I don't know where my fourth loss comes in. Fourth loss is Minnesota at the end of the year. Those were my 4 losses because I think we'll be resting. So really 13-3 going into the last week and then losing when you're resting. And I think Hendon Hooker starts that game. So obviously I have them in a good spot. And I actually think the reason they'll be resting, I think it's beautiful to have San Fran. At San Fran, we're not worried about it being the weather. It's great to actually, if there's a team that you have to play late in the year that's like, oh man, the weather's going to get us, I'd rather play San Fran at the end of the year. We saw that in the playoffs. So I think that game will be for the one, could be for the 1 seed, could be. I don't think Sanford will be second, but I think it could be. I think they'll take a step back. And if it is, it's a great time to get them. So I have us locking up the NFC 1 week early.
Okay. I'm gonna say 14-3.
Okay.
So
I like that.
The reason why I say that is because kind of just piggybacking off you said just a little bit, like Minnesota at the end, I feel like that's really going, like, if everything goes the way that I pray that it goes, like that last game is going to be like a rest game. Like, hey, rest the starters. We're going to get ready for the playoffs. The game with Houston, like I know it's going to be hard fought, but for some reason I see Houston winning by like something like this close, like a missed field goal or something like that, where they end up like winning by like 3 points or something like that, or how Dan Campbell did last year by playing a little too aggressive, and then he ends up losing. Like we end up losing. I was just like, yeah, I saw that, but then maybe I'm still a little salty about last year, but if Dallas plays here, then it's like, okay, let's see what happens. But Dallas playing in Dallas is more like, come on now. Like who are they going to honor this year? Who are they going to put in the Hall of Fame that they need to show up and show out, and that they need to, win that game? That's like, yeah, I don't see that one either. Just for the simple fact that it's gonna be a reason why. Then we're gonna have this conversation about like, oh yeah, how, did they get caught cheating this time?
Hey, look, as long as there's no cheating, and I say that, but you're right. Like there is no way for me to say that because it is Dallas. So you're probably right in just saying safe. Just be like, there is going to be some cheating, bro. Like I could say like, as long as there's no cheating, I think Dallas is a worse team this year. But to your point, it's not a safe bet that there won't be.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like Dallas is just one thing that's just like, man, you would think that because they didn't really address anything for real, and it was just like Jerry Jones' birthday is that day. You playing with me right now?
Nah, that's
I'm like, wow, but I don't know. I just pray. I pray that it doesn't be something that's like, yeah, we just knew that was going to happen. But that's the game that I see, and then Buffalo kind of had me, but just for the simple fact that they got rid of so much, I don't see them. I see us beating Buffalo. That's why I got them at 14-3.
I love that. No, I love that prediction. If you had to pick one team out of here that would be like maybe a little bit of a sleeper that could get us, like Arizona's tricky, Seattle, Tennessee, I think the Colts, I mean Chicago, like is there like a team that you think could maybe trip us up that we're not expecting? Minnesota?
Yeah, Indianapolis. Because what is his name? What's his name? Anthony Richardson.
Richardson, yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson is a player that, his rookie year got cut short because of injury. But I feel like this year he's going to come back. And I haven't really paid attention to what the Colts have been doing as much as I should have. But I definitely think that them coming in, like him coming back, is going to be like one of those like, hey, let me let me prove it to y'all real quick to show why I am the franchise quarterback, and then we're just gonna take it. We're like, yeah, whatever, it's blah blah blah. He's this guy's gonna be pretty good, and he's gonna do what Lamar did, Jalen Hurts, and everything else to see if that's really like our Achilles heel, like every other year, and he's just gonna
Right.
run and throw the ball every time.
Yeah.
But as far as Tennessee, I would like to think Tennessee, but just for the simple fact that
You
that
don't have
quarterback
to.
carousel they're going in,
You don't have to.
like, I can't give them that.
Yeah, I threw it out there, but it's like, no, you don't. You don't have to try to make a case for Tennessee beating us this season. That's fine. You don't have to do that.
No,
Uh,
because Tennessee, honestly, I would think
okay.
about it, but just for the simple fact they haven't solidified who's going to be the quarterback just yet is one reason why I'm a little bit skeptical. Because it was like, okay, Ryan Tannehill's going to be here all the time, so this is the guy, or we're
Okay.
gonna go get somebody later, or we're going to use Mike Leary or
Will
whatever his name is.
Will Levis now? Yeah.
Will Levis, yeah. Or we're gonna use Will Levis and he's actually transitioned and he's not injured this year. Then it's like, okay, yeah, we got it. But I also think they're gonna go back and losing Derrick Henry too. I still think that
Yeah.
messed them up.
That's tough. They got some receivers, but now it's a new coaching staff, man. It just feels like too much for them. But I'm with they. I like Will Levis personally, but yeah, it just feels like a lot there. I mean, I always had like I think in a way sometimes I can kind of underrate. And this sounds crazy because I'm like super optimistic saying 13-4, but I think sometimes I can underrate like how good I think our team actually is. Like with Arizona, I think it surprised a lot of people this year. But like I do think that if you just go through roster by roster, there's no way that the Lions roster is not way better than Arizona's. Like that one shouldn't be that hard. I think they could be difficult, but like let's be honest here, the Lions are a better team than Arizona. Just straight up, just keep it simple. So yeah, I'm with you. I think we both have. You're saying 14-3. I'm thinking 13-4. I think 14-3 for sure wins the number one seed. If you're going with 14-3, I think we're getting that bye week at that point.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. That's gonna be something. And then, hey, Dez, I already know you looking at this. I already got that bet going. I told him if the Packers are win over the Lions, win the division, I gotta wear a Packers shirt for a
Oh,
while, and I'm really not looking forward to that. But if he
no.
wins, but if I win, he has to wear some Detroit Lions stuff. So we're gonna see what happens with that. So I'm like, yeah, just get ready to pay up, man. Get ready to pay up.
Hey, hopefully I'm right then, man. I think the Packers are going to take a big step back this year. So you're saying 14-3 is what you're saying. The Lions are Super Bowl champions this year. That's what you're saying?
You know what? I'm saying we're making it to the Super Bowl, but I want to see who we're going against because if you end up making the Super Bowl and then you end up going against like the Detroit against the Ravens, I gotta see because
If it's any team
Lamar,
but the Ravens.
yeah, because I'm like, if you go against Lamar Jackson, it's just like, man, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Because like not even basing off last year, because it's like you can go off last year if you want to, but that was embarrassing. So it's like let's try to figure that out. But it's like Lamar ain't doing nothing but getting better. Then you gave him Derrick Henry to push through in case you want to make those small yards, so Lamar doesn't have to run for it and go ahead first. So I definitely see the Lions making it to the Super Bowl. But as far as them winning, if it's against a team like that, it's gonna be rough. But
You know
if
what?
you want to
That's
see,
fair.
but if you want to do like the Lions against KC, I'm willing to put the money on Lions for that.
Okay. All right. So you're like all but there except for one team. So all we need is Baltimore just not to be there, and we're feeling Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah, most
All
definitely.
right. I rock with that. All right. So before we get out of here, DT fan man wants 30 seconds on why the Packers are going to take a step back. So I'm gonna give it to him real quick. Here's why. Number one, look at how they finished the season. It wasn't that impressive. Outside the playoff win, I'll give them that. Dallas was good. Number two, I think that Jordan Love, it was a rough start to the season. I think the second half of the season obviously was really strong. I do think that any team that can sit back and play man coverage is going to shake up everything for that team. Any team that has that ability to do so, I think shakes everything up. It throws off their timing. I think right now we know is that when they're on time, when they can beat up your zone coverage, they're tough. I think any team that kind of has that trump card, and the best teams I think do, especially what we're going to have this next season, I think are going to shake everything up for them. I don't think Green Bay, I think Jordan Love's a very good quarterback. I just don't think as a whole they're on that level. I think that we're looking. I think their cornerback position can be questionable at times. So I think they take a step back. They won't be bad. I just think they'll take a step back this year. And because here's what we also see. If we just went by the numbers, I think it's every year about, what is it, 4 to 6 teams? I think it's 6 teams, but at very least like 4 every year, new teams are in the playoffs. So if we just went off of that, like we have to put some teams in, take some teams out. I think Green Bay is one of those teams that comes out. I do not like the Packers though, so it is fair. There's a lot of bias there. There's a ton of bias there for me, but I'm trying not to, but there naturally is. But I'm also saying the Bears are going to be better, and I don't like the Bears either, but I think the Bears might be a playoff team this year. Okay,
Ooh,
so I do, man. I got them 10-7. I got them right now 10-7. I think that could get them in the playoffs.
yeah, that actually could though. That's man, wow. So you say like the Browns, the Browns might come out and then Bears go.
I think the Packers would come out and I think the Bears would get in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, yo, he thinks he's crazy. He thinks I'm crazy. Yeah. I also think that the Cardinals are going to win 9 games this year. So there you go.
Hey,
we can talk about that more. We could talk about that. Hey,
yeah,
you know what? We got to do another show closer to the season to do another schedule prediction, kind of break it down game by game. You down with that?
I'm with it.
Okay. So on the way out here, real quick, is there anything else that you want to touch on that we didn't? And if not, you got to leave us with some words of wisdom and then tell the people where they can find you. That way people aren't missing out.
Words of wisdom. I wish I could have thought something prior to.
Yeah. I should tell people that before they get on the show, but I don't. So it just makes it more interesting.
Words, I'm gonna give y'all some real words of wisdom, man. Be willing to take risks. Be willing to have that little awkward moment where you think you're doing too much, and just embrace it, and sometimes just enjoy it, because what they said before was like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I wouldn't even be here right now having y'all on here, talking to y'all. I wouldn't be on here talking to this man right now if I didn't take that leap of faith. So man, I appreciate him for letting me be on. I appreciate y'all listening to me.
Hey, that was, hold up, just a real quick for that one. That was perfect time to use that. That was the perfect time. Look, man, I appreciate you being here. You nailed the words of wisdom. This was a ton of fun, man. I'm glad we were able to do this. And like I said, I think we should do another one of these. I mean, we can make it way sooner than just wait before the season starts. We got off-season stuff that's going to start popping. So I'd love to have you back on, especially once training camp starts rolling around, once we can start talking about that consistently. So if you're down, I'm down. We can make that.
You know where to find me, man. But yeah, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. As I said before, hey, Den in the D on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of that, man. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the support and everything, man. Much love to everybody.
There you go. There it is. Den in the D, man. Check them out. We're going to end this thing here. And yeah, I mean, I'll leave it with his words of wisdom.